And then share. And then share. Yeah.
Sorry for those online, one moment. No problem. Okay, looks like we're good to go. Okay, so if you didn't hear that, I'm Jackie Latham. Hello, I use she, her pronouns, and I will be talking and moving us forward in this process. So tonight we're here to talk about the Capital and Planning Grant Awards for the Urban Grant Program. I will give a brief summary of the last awards that were for the program category on May 18th. I'll do a little Urban Grant Program overview. We'll talk about the application review process. I'll introduce the applications and the staff and CIC recommendations, and then we'll do some meeting logistics before introducing anybody who's here to speak on an application. So I don't know if the ones in the audience, you can't see the title, but this is the programs awards from the May 18th Special Board Award. There were 13 grants awarded for $911,000, and there's information on our website about these awards. The Urban Grant Program has been around since 2016, and since then there's been 67 grants awarded for a total of $4.7 million. And there's a list of past awards and lots of fun information about these projects on our website. The Urban Grant Program is all based on our guidelines. This year, there were two sets of guidelines, one for capital and planning projects and one for programs. And tonight we're talking about capital and planning projects. The pre-applications for this cycle were due November 8th, with full applications due in February. The total funding allocation for both cycles is $1.5 million, with $750,000 allocated between the two. And eligible applicants are local public agencies, schools and school districts, and nonprofits. The 4 project categories that all projects fall into, and it can be more than one, it often is environmental stewardship and restoration, parks, trails, and public access, environmental education, and urban agriculture and food systems. All capital projects must happen within the eligible grants area, which is kind of the lighter orange shade here. It really focuses on the urban areas, urban versus rural. It's an urban grant program, so all the projects must take place in here. Between the programs and capital solicitation, there's some differences. I'll highlight the capital. Capital and planning projects include the planning and or implementation of long-lasting improvements, including natural or built construction, restoration, or enhancement that bring nature to urban areas. These projects are for $40,000 to $250,000, and they're for a 3-year grant period. And these ones get reviewed by our Citizens Advisory Committee, or CAC. And we have someone here from our CAC, Lonnie Wong-Bassett, if you'd like to say hello.
Hello, everybody.
And we really appreciate their input and engagement. They really help us with this robust review process. You'll see that the CAC's recommendations, their votes and comments are part of the board packet, and I'll also briefly touch on them during my presentation as well. For those who are awarded, they will have a contract based on the application. This can take several weeks or multiple months. I'm happy to report that for the program awards that were awarded in May, over half of those projects have already gotten started. So maybe it'll be a quick process for these awardees as well. There's a signage requirement for capital projects. You can see an example of our sign here. These are reimbursement-based grants, and there's match required for large organizations. And some of the reimbursable items in the grants may include personnel that are directly related to the project, as well as supplies and materials, direct costs, contracted services, etc. All the applications were scored based on the scoring criteria and our guidelines that you can see here. And I'll talk about the application review process now. We got 31 applications requesting a total of $3.3 million. 9 of the organizations had never applied before. 3 of those were for capital applicants. And if you'd like to see more information about our applications, we have lots of that in the packet. The review process includes a screening of the pre-applications for eligibility for the organization, site control, where it's located. Then those who are eligible applied for the full application. Then the staff review team scores the applications according to the guidelines. This is a long, careful process. Then they also go to the CAC, and the CAC takes a thorough review as well. And then they also had a public meeting to review, ask questions, have public speakers. And then from there, they make comments and recommendations that are here with you today. And here we are. The capital applications are summarized here. This has been listed in alphabetical order. This is the brief calendar summary. It's a long process that starts in 2022 up until now. You'll see that they went to a staff review, citizens advisory committee, and then board awards are tonight. So for the staff recommendations, you'll see them listed in highest score order based on the allocation of $750,000. The staff recommendations stop at $687,000 with that allocation. All of the other applications fell outside of that number. I'm going to turn it over to Megan to talk a little bit about the financial allocations.
Good evening, directors. Thanks, Jackie. As she mentioned, $750,000 was allocated for the capital projects that are going to be awarded tonight. But I wanted to take a moment and just talk about the finances behind this, behind that, because I anticipated that there might be questions about when award time comes. So forgive me, it's kind of hard to talk to this mask. I feel like I'm running upstairs or something. So we started with a balance of about 1.9 million when we started the grant cycle here. The grant awards back in May that Jackie mentioned awarded about 900,000. So that gave us a current balance of about $1 million. And then this particular grant cycle, it's unusual that we happen to go, into a new fiscal year. So that doesn't normally happen. And in this fiscal year, the board recently approved our budget, which included 500,000 toward the grant program. So that's why there's that additional 500,000 allocation, bringing us to about 1.5 million available right now. So moving forward, the awards, as Jackie mentioned, we recommended the top scoring applications without going over the $750,000 allocation. If we were to award those top allocation recommendations, we would end up with about 812,000 in the bank. And so on the one hand, there is a healthy buffer. There is additional funding available, but I just want to add the caveat that.
So it means after 687,213, and then we still has balance 12099, right?
Exactly.
It's in the bank.
That's right. That's in the bank. We still will have that 812.
So we can give it to somebody else we want, right?
You could. It's in the grant program. It is part of the money that's available. But the caveat I want to give, though, is to caution us, because the bank, for the past few years, we've been putting in 500,000 a year. In the future, we may not put that much in, that can vary. But even at the 500,000 level, it has taken us 3 fiscal years to build up enough to have the awards for tonight. So the more we go into that, the less we're going to be able to award in the future. And what that will mean is either the next cycle will be very small, and that can be difficult because it's the same amount of work, both for staff, but also for the applicants, to have less money available. So it could either be a smaller cycle, or it might take longer to build up enough money. So instead of a cycle in 2 years, it might take 3 or 4 to build up enough in the bank to have a big cycle. So just want to give those caveats that yes, there is that additional funding, but we think of it as needing it for the future cycles. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. All right, I will touch on the staff recommended applications. These are those 4 that were mentioned. This is the $687,000 that we're referencing come from these 4 recommended. This is in order of staff rank. And then the other 5 that fall outside of that $750,000 are listed here. This is the CAC recommendations, which similarly follow staff recommendations, but in a slightly different order. So you can see their CAC votes, yeas and nays here. And then this is them all together. Listed with staff review, CAC votes, yeas and nays, and you can see CAC comments as well in your exhibit B, I believe. So the logistics for tonight, like I mentioned, you have your packet with the report and resolution and exhibits, which include the grant guidelines, application list, recommendations, location distribution, as well as the grant summaries with staff and CAC recommendations and their comments. So just shortly after this, we will move to discussing the applications in order of staff recommendations. Applicants will be invited to speak 3 minutes for the official representative, 2 minutes for other speakers, members of the public. If you have not signed up or talked to us yet, we'll make sure to get you in. Directors may discuss and ask questions to the official representative. Depending on the time and what the chair decides, there may be a 20 or so minute break. Otherwise, we'll push through and get to applications. Other applications that are not recommended may be discussed if the public or the CAC board wishes. And then the board of directors will vote in a market basket approach at the end. All right, and during this question time, if you don't mind, Lonnie, in case there's any questions about the CAC process, do you mind if there were to be something? I don't know if there are.
Yes, okay, I don't know if there'll be any questions in general, but it's probably gonna be very similar to what is gonna happen today. We got a chance to listen to the different individuals who presented from different organizations, the proposals. We asked several questions regarding finances, regarding community, regarding staffing, and a whole number of other things down the line for each group. And afterwards, after we heard from all 9, we ended up sitting down and having notations, which myself and another individual were on that subcommittee. And then we got together afterwards, and that's the list of notes that you got. They were very concise. We were very excited. Apparently, it was very exciting that we ended on time. I don't. This is my first time getting to do this really amazing thing and getting to participate in the process. So I think, yeah, as you saw, there were 9 of them. For us, 5 of them were passed, and 4 of them were not. One of those 4 that did not make it was a tie. It was 5 to 5, and unfortunately, I think that group in particular was not there to actually speak. So that kind of went into that as well. So that's the summary of what happened that day. It was very quick. Those who were there witnessed something amazing. So if you have any other questions, I can definitely help answer them based on the notes.
Yes, I have a question. So when you guys selected the first 4, and then you guys has any kind of meeting or just invite the organizations represented to just give any kind of their feedback, why they need the money, those kind of things, or just look at the application?
No, everyone got a chance to look at the application prior to the meeting. Our last meeting was in the end of June. And that was the meeting where we got to speak to the 9 different organizations, or the 8 at that meeting. They got to share, they had their 2 minutes to share about their proposal and about the project that they were putting forth to us. So everyone had the documentation of the extensive documentation of the actual proposals in front of them at the CAC meeting. And then we each many of us asked questions regarding the finances, community, staffing, and so on and so forth. And then as they got berated by questions, and they sat down, and the next person came up. There was someone keeping time who was actually sitting down there and making sure that we were being fair for everybody and give them the necessary time. Does that answer that? And then afterwards, when they kind of left, I think
Yeah.
individuals left and stayed, and then we all spoke. It was very awkward. I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh my gosh, we're talking about the monies in their lives and the projects right in front of them. It was very uncomfortable. I was like, I don't see them. But and they're all sitting there right now too. It's very uncomfortable. I had no idea. Like I said, this is my first time. But we did end up speaking afterwards and going down the line for each of the 9 and having an extensive conversation about why and what the notes were. And then after.
But those organizations is already give there, right? At this point, because they are not selected, and what is the reason?
Say that again.
I said they already knew that the organization is not picked up, or they didn't selected.
So to clarify, the CAC was given something similar but a little different than the list that you're given today. It was preliminary staff recommendations. So based on that, the CAC saw that as well as the public. So the public could decide whether or not it was something that they wanted to speak to or not. And it was,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, great.
And I did, thank you for coming. I just have a couple of questions. Yeah, I know, and I joined the process myself first time as chair. It is kind of strange to be, doing this, like, I understand it. I had a question about the tie, about the 5-5, and so you mentioned briefly that it was a tie because the applicant wasn't in the room, or was there?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up my notes really quick. Unfortunately, I think it was a tie based on what was provided in the documentation, so people made their votes based on just what was in front of them. And I think most individuals, I think the 5 that voted no, voted that way because they didn't get to ask and get a buffer of like, what else could we? Because I think there were holes. I think most of the ones that did not pass for the CAC, there were questions that we had, and I don't think the answers really fulfilled what we were looking for that were provided to us, whether it was financial or community staffing, whatever. It just didn't answer what we were looking for. It felt like it filled that gap versus the 5 that we did pass. Those were they all passed kind of like these checklists. I think everyone kind of had.
Right, I did see some comments about public access. I think that was.
Yeah, there was quite a few questions around public access, especially if they were dealing with the public. There were questions around that. I think there was one regarding Morgan Hill, and there was a couple of us who live in Morgan Hill, so that a lot of us had actual questions about our space. We could ask those kinds of really in-depth questions. So it was definitely interesting to hear the responses, because I don't know if everyone was prepared to get those in-depth questions.
Any other directors have questions? Yes, Director Randall.
I don't have a question, but I was witnessing the process. And I would just like to say that Scott, your chair of ourselves, they did an excellent job in the exhibit of setting forth comments that were made and concerns for the CAC members. This exhibit is really wonderful.
Thank you. I'm glad that it was helpful.
So which was the one that tied? I see.
That was our city forest,
Okay. So
the growing the urban forestry education sector. I think, yeah.
Any other questions? No, I'm looking over there again. Yes.
So is it just only one is it tied, or have?
It was just the one was tight, but I think because that's what we learned, that in the case of a tie, that means to fail. Is what we learned. Obviously, this is our recommendation, right? So it doesn't mean anything when it comes to the end all be all. You all make the final decisions, which I'm very glad for. It is all on you. But yeah, that was the only one. Everything else you can see the way we voted. Some were fairly close, some were unanimous, in either or, whether it was passed or failed. But it was, and some of them, I think most of the ones that came really close were based on, there were some fiscal questions that some people either felt they didn't really like, or some really liked, but I think that's kind of where things swung when it was a pass or fail. I think it was really close.
Did we see the CAC votes again? You know, that we discussed it.
Sure. Be 4 slides up, 22, one above that. Yeah.
It was a good discussion. But again, we were on time, so it wasn't crazy. It was a good discussion, but nothing that ran over like 4 hours or something nuts that I had heard from past years.
Which was what it was when I was.
And I feel like I'm exaggerating, but someone
No, it
has
was
told me
5.5.
no, it was like,
It was 5.5 hours.
okay, see, I'm not even exaggerating. 5.5 hours.
I was there.
Yeah, that was insane.
Any other questions? No. Okay, Lenny, thank you. I'm sure you know that it was a difficult process, but I really appreciate the input of the CAC and having this up there. It is something for us to consider and to deliberate the recommendations.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Now we'll call on the first.
Yep, great. All right, so I'll be introducing speakers by organization in order of staff recommendations. So the first one is the Children's Discovery Museum, and I believe we have Marley Jennings here. Okay, and for any speaker, you'll see that the time will be put up and our clerk will kind of give you the nod when the time starts.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Hi, I'm Marilyn Jennings, Executive Director of Children's Discovery Museum of San Jose. Some of you may remember that back in 2016, the Open Space Authority provided funds from Measure Q to help build the museum's half-acre outdoor space, Bill's Backyard. And what a remarkable investment that has turned out to be for the families in this community. Of course, we didn't know then that the pandemic was coming and that the only safe places would be outdoors. As you might imagine, when Bill's Backyard was allowed to reopen, it felt like an oasis to families. And I recall one mom saying, I haven't felt this happy in months. Bill's Backyard has become a deeply cherished community asset. And we are grateful to the Open Space Authority's board for your help in making it possible. Our proposal before you today builds on the impact Bill's Backyard has had on children's learning and lives by giving them an outdoor space to explore freely while helping their parents gain confidence in their children's ability to navigate the natural. Our plan calls for expanding. I'm suddenly very nervous. Sorry. We're expanding into the parcel.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
You can also sit if you'd like. Yeah. Yeah.
This never happened to do before.
No problem.
I do this all the time. Let me sit. Okay. Sorry. Wow, what a spectacle. Sorry. Our plan calls for expanding into the adjacent parcel and creating the exploration portal with 8 new interactive exhibits designed to highlight the patterns in nature, you know, like the honeycomb structure of a beehive. The exhibits will be placed among gardens consisting of native and drought-tolerant shrubs and greenery, xeriscape bioswales that prevent runoff to the nearby Guadalupe River, and plants with fascinating patterns. The overarching goal is to help kids gain the social, emotional, and cognitive benefits that result from play in nature. The museum's downtown San Jose location positions it within a 5-mile radius of some of the most disadvantaged communities identified in OSA's community assessment reports. Our highest service priority is to reach underserved families in our own backyard. And to this end, we offer an open door policy free admission program to ensure that admission fees are not a barrier. And we work closely with partner CBOs to identify and welcome these priority families. The construction drawings are currently underway, being permitted by the city of San Jose, which has donated the use of the land under a long-term lease. With 80% of the funds raised, support tonight from the Open Space Authority will help keep our project on track to open in summer 2024. Thank you.
Thank you.
And at this time, I'd first invite any other members of the public who'd like to speak on this application, and then we'll open it up to any questions from directors. Is there anyone else who is here or online to speak for the Children's Discovery Museum project? All right, I'll turn it over to the chair.
Point, any directors on the start of the, do we have any questions? Director Gill?
Actually, I'm very familiar with the children discovery. I just spent a couple of times. Seems to look like needs to look like it's a good project we are going to do.
I love the Discovery Museum, and my son, when he was growing up, we spent a lot of time there. Much of it on the fire truck. But I just wondered, I noticed in your application, there were a number of things that were coming up in May or in July with the building permits and the plans. And so is all of that still pretty much on schedule?
You know, it's a really good question, and much of it is on schedule. The challenge, of course, is going through the permitting process with the city of San Jose. And because we operate a facility that's owned by the city, in some ways, the process is even more complicated. Means there has to be many more people involved in permitting the project. So we're not as far along with the permit as we hope to be, but my colleague Rich Turner just said we're breaking ground in August. So we're really trying to keep it on track.
Thank you.
And just, I'm going to be asking every applicant the same question. Because I'm trying to balance all this. So if we chose not to give you the full award tonight, the partial funding be okay?
Yeah, we would make it work. I think our priority is getting the exploration portal open. We had this vision and really began to flesh it out when the pandemic hit. And so we feel like we're already 3 years behind. So we are going to continue forging ahead, even with reduced funds, and we'll redouble our efforts to get it somehow.
Oh, I love that answer. And I remember when you guys did the ribbon cutting for that, I was there in attendance, and it was a beautiful event, and the Discovery Museum is it's a very special place. So thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Georgiana?
Yes, a couple of questions. How much of this potential award covers your requirement, the total requirement?
So there's 300 and change left to raise, so 124 covers a great deal. On June 24th, we also launched a community campaign accepting gifts anywhere from $250 to $250,000. And so we are actively out there trying to secure what the OSA's money won't cover.
And I'll also be asking the same question. So also, I'm trying to remember, Bill, where in relation to the entrance to Bill's backyard for the main building is this going to go? Is it going to go south and east, or?
It's basically southwest. So you can see this new space if you were driving down Waz Way. So if you exited out the building into Bill's backyard and walked all the way down almost to where you would think it would end, there's a space over to the right. Right now, what you see is our 7,000 gallon water catchment cistern. But beyond that is the 4,000 square feet.
It would have, I look forward, I would have been nice to have a layout.
Right.
Stuff like that. I'm very visual in that regard. So anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
No, we just-
Randall?
Okay, thank you very much.
Great. The next organization is the School of Arts and Culture, and I believe we have Chris Esperanza to speak on that. We don't have, okay. Is there anyone else from the School of Arts and Culture here to speak on this project? All right, I'll turn it back to the chair for any questions or discussions.
Although there's no one to ask the question.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit more challenging, but are there any questions?
No, I just want to be, understand about the project. Patients, they have any bullet points, so you know that, can you just explain a little bit what is the project and then what is the benefit for the community, this one? Or the children or the school, whatever.
I would need to pull up my exhibit C to kind of give you like a fair summary of their projects. So to briefly read their abstract, the School of Arts and Culture at Mexican Heritage Plaza seeks an open space authority grant to support a capital improvement and planning project for bringing green infrastructure to the newly acquired property at 1785 Alum Rock Avenue. This is called La Placita. It's across the street from the Mexican Heritage Plaza, where SOC, the School of Arts and Culture, has operated since 2011. This will provide an opportunity to bring natural elements to the East San Jose development in an underserved, densely populated, heavily trafficked area. SOAC will use an urban grant to plan, design, and implement a safe urban public outdoor recreational space for the Alum Rock Avenue and Eastgate Avenue sides of the acquired property. The space will include an educational experience about native habitat of East San Jose. And you can also see their letters of support from about 8 folks and the staff and CAC recommendations on Exhibit C as well.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say I was excited to read this application. Earlier, year or so ago, Lena, no, maybe a little longer during the part of the pandemic, Lena and I were doing a driving tour of deep engagement communities, and this was our area. So we visited this whole area, and it was just so lacking in trees, gardens, and we talked about it a lot. So it just seemed like a perfect place to have this kind of project. I was excited.
Same question, but I guess there's no one here to answer it, right? In terms of, how much is the 250 cover in terms of the overall project? And again, trying to be visual, what's this thing gonna look like?
I do believe, if my recollection serves, that they do have some images in their application, and most of the applicants speak to their budget, the urban grant program budget, and also their overall budget in the full application.
Well, it's gonna be the same. We have a little more information.
I was just hoping it was gonna say.
It would have been nice to have layouts.
Yeah.
Feel that's missing.
Question I have is, it's also within the realm of the city of San Jose, so I'm wondering if they, you know, if they're actively pursuing any kind of funding from city involved. But I don't know. Hard to ask one question about that. Yes.
I just think partial answer. According to exhibit C, if they don't get the funding, then all we're gonna be able to do is paint them the road. So the reason I think that the DAC supported it was basically threefold. One, the deep engagement and the OSA's going to do. And then improvement that's needed to that area in the Mexican Heritage Plaza. It's just a really positive thing for that community. And the meaning of that area is, I think there's only one other along key road further down by the sheet. So I mean, this will definitely be positive to that. To get surveyed. The full application, right? It's wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm
Somebody's got.
Yeah, as a member of the public.
You want to, you are welcome to the member of the public, yes. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Casey Hill, I'm the Executive Director at Evolution. And I don't at all want to say that I'm speaking on behalf of the School of Arts and Culture, but the School of Arts and Culture is one of 5 organizations that is part of the Susan White Collective. It's an East San Jose based, place-based collective impact model. Evolution is also one of these 5 organizations. The others are Somos Mayfair, Grail Family Services, and Amigos de Guadalupe. So I did want to just take the opportunity to say that with regard to fundraising for planning for community support for School of Arts and Culture's plans, including this, which is part of the Avenida Cultural District work. That not only is the School of Arts and Culture planning for different and diverse funding streams. This is the Guade Collective, use the cultural district and La Avenida and schools plans as part of a creative neighborhood transformation. So I just wanted to put out there that I know there are plans. I'm sorry, there's not someone here. I texted them to let them know you're looking for them. So I assume that there's a reason. But I just did want to say that there are multiple agencies, just as the school pulling for and local government agencies as well as other partner organizations who want to see this work happen. So just didn't want this opportunity to pass by. But speaking on behalf of the Susan White Collective and our East San Jose community residents, to the extent that I know I've heard the statements. Thank you.
Thank you.
And through the chair, if I could respond one of your questions. Jackie and I are a little hesitant sometimes to get detailed answers because of course we only know what's in the application, and that's why it's great when folks are able to elaborate. But one thing that's really explicit, like you had asked about San Jose and public funds, in their budget, they do say they have matching funds secured from the city of San Jose. OCA, I'm not sure what that is offhand.
Cultural affairs.
There we go. So they have some funds from that 15,000 as well as another 60,000 or so from other sources.
Thank you. Great. Good. All right.
Okay. The next organization is the Santa Clara Unified Schools for the
Did
Pomeroy.
did the public get to weigh in on Vegelution? Myself?
We're not, we haven't gone to that one just yet. But I have your name and we will call you.
Sorry, I thought I saw Casey and I thought Vegelution was, okay.
Right.
Not
Yes.
yet, not yet.
Casey was speaking on behalf of as a member of the public for another organization. So Vegelution will be in a couple. I'd like to invite any speakers from Pomeroy if we have Michelle.
Yes, I'm here.
You can
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Michelle Healy. I'm the Director of Facility Development and Planning, and I'm here as a representative for Santa Clara Unified School District to express our enthusiastic support for the Equitable Access Through Implementing Native Gardens, or EATING grant proposal. EATING is a project that will make a significant impact on the lives of our students. It focuses on 2 schools, Scott Lane Elementary and Pomeroy Elementary, which both serve sensitive populations, including socioeconomically disadvantaged, English language learners, and specialized education students. We believe in equitable access to nature and growing spaces for all students. Many of our students live in suburban and urban areas with limited access to nature. EATING will provide them with educational green spaces just outside their classrooms, fostering a deeper connection with the natural world. The EATING project aligns with the goals of the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority and the Santa Clara Valley Greenprint. It contributes to the creation, protection, and management of native habitats and species, ensuring resilience to a changing environment. By transforming specific areas at Scott Lane and Pomeroy Elementary Schools into outdoor environmental classrooms, EATING will enhance the nature-based and science-focused environmental education programs. These spaces will utilize sustainable materials and practices, incorporating native plants wherever possible. Notably, Scott Lane Elementary will become a registered location for the Monarch Way Station program, expanding the natural habitat for monarch butterflies and supporting their population growth and migration. We have a clear plan to measure the success of EATING. The project's impact will be measured by the square footage of new outdoor environmental education space dedicated to nature, science-based environmental education programs, and hands-on youth engagement. Additionally, we will track the number of plants added to specifically support wildlife, such as monarch butterflies. The Santa Clara Unified School District has successfully implemented similar outdoor environmental education classrooms at other school sites. We have the experience and knowledge to ensure the successful execution and management of EATING. This project goes beyond benefiting our students and families. It benefits the environment as well. By increasing the natural habitat for native species, expanding green areas for education, and creating calming natural spaces, EATING is an act of social justice, empathy, and kindness towards other species. And I can answer any questions that you may have.
And before we go to questions, I just want to make sure if there's any other speakers on behalf of this organization. Okay, great.
Saying one thing, $250,000 covered what percent of the needs for the completion project?
It would cover 100%, almost 100% of the project. We are removing asphalt in between the classroom wings at Pomeroy Elementary, and the district is paying for that. So that's something that we would be paying for that the grant is not paying for. The grant is only going to be paying for the implementation of the outdoor classrooms, the plants, and the irrigation to support those plants, and as well as some of the irrigation and picnic tables at the 2 school sites.
Both of the will be on the campuses in both cases.
Yes.
Thank you. Should let you know that my daughter so I know those campuses, and I know there's a need in those campuses to soften their concrete impact. And so I'm encouraged by this. One thing though I did want to ask is this intended to be an ongoing change to those campuses that you intend to manage and perpetuate through eternity?
So it really depends on which campus it is. Pomeroy specifically reached out to the district and wanted us to remove the asphalt in between the campus wings, as Scott Lane had a similar request. And so right now we're going campus by campus, but we are reaching out to each campus, and we're in the middle of a district-wide master plan. And through that, we are understanding where we can put additional outdoor education spaces, if we need to have more shade structures with outdoor classrooms. So we are doing that analysis on every campus over the next 18 months, and we've already done some of it. So I have a feeling that we will try to incorporate more of this. But right now, Pomeroy and Scott Lane are a little bit of our test subjects. They really are passionate about it. And so we're really excited to be able to use some of this grant money to help further their requests for more green spaces on their school sites.
The reason I asked that question is, some years ago, we had a garden type project for a hill, and we asked that organization down there how long they were going to have this project. Was it just a project, or was something you're going to do and continue with the intent to go? I can answer that. Actually, it's still ongoing. Yeah, okay, good. It was the movement of the amusement park. Yeah. It's still there. Keeps changing. It's still there. Changes still, yeah. Clients live, die, and there's cycles, all that. What we got into at that time was discussion of that how long is this going?
I'm looking at the CAC comments in the responses that were given at the CAC. And at that time, we stated that the goal of the district is to replicate this program in the next 3 years and expanding it to at least 2 other school sites. So I'd say I look at this as a model of that following to help us district and moving to the other school sites.
And
Let me ask one question. Actually, 250K is the whole district, or how many campuses you think you can be covered with that project to be complete?
The 250 would only cover a portion of the work at both at Pomeroy Elementary and Scott Lane.
Okay, only 2.
Yeah, only 2 schools.
Thank you.
Hi, Peterson Middle School is a part of your district, right?
Yes.
And I was involved in the garden project there as a volunteer. Is that a part of this same program?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. Peterson, are you talking about the nature center or the farm that we have at Peterson?
The farm.
Okay, so the farm, that's a separate program where we grow fruits and vegetables that go directly into our nutrition services department. And so that's a separate program. But we are looking at growing seedlings at the farm that we could potentially branch out and then give to all of our school gardens, so that they would have some other types of vegetables that they could grow within their gardens. But that's not part of this grant.
No, I knew it wasn't part of the grant, but I thought it was similar but different. And one of the things that made me wonder about is you talked about community partners and opening it up, the grant area to the community, making it available after hours. And that was what I saw at Peterson, that it had become a real community kind of thing. And there was a farm stand, and it seemed like you also reached out to neighbors and to community organizations to come in and help with ongoing maintenance, that it wasn't just all in the school district. And so I was thinking it might be the same kind of goal for this project?
Yes, it would be. In fact, Pomeroy Elementary already does that. They have a very robust garden program, and the school pays for a portion of a garden educator. So they already have community garden days and cleanup days around the campus. And so with this, they would just expand that and probably have a few more. They get a really good turnout. When we had one in April, they got over 200 people attending their garden day. And so we're really looking forward to expanding that. Our gates to our campuses are open on the weekends. So the community would be able to use these outdoor spaces, come and hang out, and use the fields. And so they do that already. And so this would just give them more opportunity to come and use those spaces. And then Scott Lane, they would be starting their more community outreach with this program.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and the final question is, if we were to award less than the 250, would you be okay with partial funding?
We would still move forward with the projects. We would just have to find either some other donors or find another way to fund it. But we would still move forward with the two projects.
Great. Thank you so much, and I appreciate all the comments. Sounds like a wonderful program.
Thank you. It is. And thank you for your consideration.
And through the chair, if I could just answer a question that Director Flaher had about regarding site control. So just so the board of directors know, we have a general requirement for these capital grants to ensure the investment is over periods of time. So depending on the range of money that is awarded, for example, 40,000 to 100,000 is a 5-year requirement that the project remain in use. For 100,000 to 200,000, 10 years. For any awards between $200,000 and $250,000, that's at least 20 years. All right, and the next organization is the California Native Garden Foundation, and I believe we have Aubrey Middlebrook here as the official representative, the first speaker.
I want to thank staff and members of the Citizens Advisory Committee for recommending a project for funding, and thank you board members for allowing me to thank some of our community partners that is going to make this project possible. So first of all, I want to thank Nasim Hashimi, owner of the land where Freshness Farms at Coyote Creek is going to be built. I want to thank Dr. Alexandra Duran, who is head of the Workforce Institute for San Jose Evergreen Community College District. We've worked with them to create the certificates that will be taught here, time spent by the students, members of the community. You'll hear about some of the people and groups that are going to be using this facility to learn about ecological land management and regenerative organic agriculture. Dr. Misty Shroud, Dean of Math and Science for San Jose City College, the Director of Elmwood Correctional Facility, Dr. Patrick Marshall, and the many outstanding members of the Sheriff's Department who participate on the sustainability team at Elmwood. Susan Ellenberg, President of the Board of Supervisors, core development and the staff at the Agri-Hood, where we are developing the Mindful Aging Project for low-income seniors. The Urban Growers Network, of which CNGF is a member. 8 community partners, including Valley Verde, 4th Street Gardens, the Forge Garden at Santa Clara University, Guadalupe River Park and Gardens, Conservancy, our city forest, Loving Severity, and of course, Vegelution. I want to thank our Ecological Land Management Consortium, which is a group of sustainable landscape contractors who are very interested in supporting ecological land management and trainees and hiring and teaching some of the students who will be here. And then Acterra, we're working with them through a grant through Open Space Authority. Catholic Charities, another one of our partners, HT Harding Associates, Ecological Landscape Architects, Valley Water, a partner, Adobe, First 5, and Alum Rock Unified School District. So That's not everyone, but that just shows you the number of community groups who are very interested in having their members and their community train and learn as this project grows. At CNGF, we recognize the value of restoring local ecosystems with native plant communities, designing, building, and operating regenerative farms that use.
I'm sorry.
Am I over?
Yeah, thanks for doing that. Thank you.
Okay. Too bad. Thank you. Someone else.
Yeah, at this time, it looks like we have someone else signed up to speak, Amy Zhang.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amy Zhang, and I'm currently a rising senior at Monte Vista High School in Cupertino, California. After my freshman year, it was completely remote. I started biking to school again. And in our school, the bike racks are located right next to a garden. And that's when I realized our school's garden wasn't really doing that well. So I gathered my friends and we started the garden club at my school, and slowly but surely we nurtured the garden back into life. And throughout this process, this experience, as well as CNGF's guidance for regenerative agriculture and urban gardening, really allowed me to start the Pocket Forests Initiative at my school and join another group of high schoolers to bring it to the rest of our district. Throughout this process, CNGF has been absolutely instrumental in guiding us through all the basics of gardening and showing us all the different native plants that we may be able to incorporate into our gardens. And if we are able to receive this grant, we will really be able to utilize the land at Coyote Creek to really educate the rest of our students and our staff of the importance of gardening at our schools. And tonight, I hope that you can join me in supporting the California Native Garden Foundation in supporting the youth, underserved communities and the rest of the state of California in providing, being the change, in helping us change our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. And is there any other member of the public who would like to speak on the CNGF application?
Okay.
Feel like it's,
I
I know.
We're gonna.
So the same.
It's texting doom.
We are. So this is how much of the project does the 62,000?
It's only one.
And how do you plan and what's the time frame in completing the?
Well, it's going to be several years because this is a training project to train young people, small farmers, professional landscape, professional urban land use people. It's really about training people to be eco-literate by actually doing the work there and not just installing it, but also managing it. Managing ecosystems when you restore, I'm sure you guys all know this, but it's really the long-term management of a project. And it's really building a community that becomes eco-literate and really does understand, regenerative organic agriculture and how they come together.
That's a question for maybe our system is if this isn't going to take place for a while. How are the funds dispersed or when are they dispersed, considering we don't know what's going to happen when?
Well, could I just respond? It is going to start as soon as we're able to get funding. And the sooner it starts, the more we can begin to train people. It's very urgent because this model is, it holds more carbon in the soil. It uses 40% less water to grow food and it grows 40% more food. So it is urgent that we start the project.
So I guess maybe the other, asking the same question in a different way is, how long does a successful applicant have to begin the project?
Sure. So through the chair, these capital projects have a 3-year timeline. The start of the grant is kind of, it's kind of we work with the grantees to get their contract in order, and sometimes if they're working on a permit, for example, that won't be covered by our grant, and that's gonna happen next month, we kind of can coordinate around that so that the grant can be at the ideal time.
And then the other thing is, again, I feel that some of these I'm flying blind. Where is this, let me be, I see 559 Monterey Road. Where is
It's
it?
adjacent, to the Coyote Creek and, the Ridge Trail, and it's really not too far from the golf course. It's on the other side of the creek. And so, a lot of bicyclists and people who are walking the trail and maybe at the golf course is gonna be a lot of activity, pedestrian and,
I know where that is.
bicycle.
What's the closest cross street?
It's not too far from Freeway. I don't really know, what the closest are.
Because Coyote Valley has a lot of east-west running streets, and I'm kind of curious as to. I saw that, but that's what I was asking. I don't know where that is.
Kirby Road is not too far. Kirby Road and Monterey Highway,
So you're,
Just south of Bingley.
south of Bailey.
yeah, definitely south of Bailey. So
Yeah.
you're in relation to the golf course, you're west of it.
Well, south,
South
yeah,
and
west and south,
Yeah.
right. It's on the other side of Coyote.
It's where layouts can really be helpful for
So,
all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The application
We
has
have-
some.
Yeah, they're in.
No, I'm done. Thank you.
so can you just tell us how big the lot is that, I mean, the
It's 9 acres.
9 acres?
It's a 9-acre, 75-year-old farm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great one. Thank you.
I know. there's-
And in terms of understanding the timeline and getting to Director Kennett's questions, isn't part of our, the funding from the OSA would be to put in the infrastructure
Yes.
for the farm?
Right.
So that would happen before you could have training, so that's measurable.
But it actually could be coincide with the training.
Right.
Because learning how to, remove invasives and prepare the soil and actually the planting, the plants that we're going to be using and how you build a regenerative farm, that's all part of the learning experience.
Right,
Yeah.
but I think this is a capital project, so even though this is for the training and the certification,
Right,
it's in support of that.
absolutely.
But a lot of what the funding would be for the capital.
Yeah, the funding is going to pay for the design, the landscape design, the plants, the irrigation equipment, the machines, that are required, the soil, if we have to add any soil, and that's what the grant pays for. Also, the owner, the way we wrote the grant, the owner matches everything that we get from Valley Water. And that's how we wrote the whole grant. And then there's also the match of the income that we're going to get from the certification classes. And so that's leverage. So this project is $1 million over, a small investment.
Question. So you are getting the funding from Valley Water too?
Valley Water, we applied for funding from Valley Water too. And we received the funding from Valley Water. We are negotiating the contract right now. It's all been approved. But we, nothing is, we haven't received the funding. This is like, it's takes a while. Yes.
So can you give us a little information about your lease? What is the term of your lease?
We don't own the land. The land is owned by our partner.
I understand that, but you have a lease on it for a certain number of years?
No, we don't have a lease on it. We are just a nonprofit who is doing this work so that she wants her farm to be used for teaching, training, and research.
If you don't have a formal arrangement, she can give you a 30-day notice and say, I don't want anything here anymore.
Well, why would she do that if she's not willing to invest?
I'm just trying to clarify what the legal mission is. So,
It's to her advantage that we're coming there to help her.
Through the chair, if I could maybe clarify a little bit. So I can't speak to the lease. That's something, you know, that would be between them, but part of our application does require proof of site control. And what we did in this case is we had a form that the owner had to fill out saying that she is authorizing this project to happen, this particular construction to happen. In this case, she granted the consent for this for 3 years after project is completed. So that is a little less than what we generally require, which is 5 years. So there is at least a 3-year commitment that we have documented this way.
shouldn't sign the contract, just a letter of understanding.
It's more like a letter of understanding. I mean, it's assigned from the landowner stating that she's authorizing it, but that's as far as it goes.
Yeah.
But there is no contract there. So the contract between you, I mean, the nonprofit and with the landowners.
With the landowner, right, but we have contracts with other, with the other users, with our community partners. Okay.
You have another question? Of course. Here's where I can become your best friend or your worst nightmare. I'm a commercial realtor. And so one of my questions would be who the owner is. And are they sole owner? And is there, let's say they get run over by a bus, what happens with the family trust? And how is that going forward? Because now it becomes our investment that could be lost. For no problem of yours, nothing that you've done wrong. But the reality is stuff happens. Maybe the heirs want to sell the joint.
Well, I do know, Nasim couldn't be here tonight, because, her nephew, died suddenly, and so she couldn't be here, but she did have a statement. And I could share that with you. I could read that statement. I do know that she has, 3 other siblings, and they're all committed to what Nasim is wanting to do with this property. And her father is 93 years old, and he owns 9 acres on Kirby Road. And the chances of that, his passing in the next few years are, understandable. And her 4 siblings will inherit that, and they're all committed to that, both properties remaining agricultural.
Through the chair, if I can add, there is a letter from the landowner in your packet. It's towards the back, maybe 3rd to last page of the letters that were sent directly to the board.
Yeah, Chair, I would say. For this side, is that, if we were to grant this, if we made it contingent upon the landowner entering into a formal settlement, a specific number of years, and $1 a year or whatever, so that the security is there for the public dollars. In the long term.
I guess what you're hearing is for warm fuzzy that our investment and your investment will be ongoing.
I appreciate that. I do.
I'm look like a little bit nervous. The reason is that because if we want to be granted that, then we have to need some kind of security for our investment. So for example, the landowner is just has to give us a surety that if they don't want to give their land to this nonprofit, then they have to be returned them. It's a public fund and we don't want to use that. So then that kind of letter we need from. So then they have to be give the money back to the authority.
Okay, all right, I think we've exhausted questions, but I think we can share there are a little bit of concerns about the lease and the investment that this authority would make on this property. So I want, we'll try and
Through the chair,
Yeah.
we may have legal counsel participating in the meeting online. If you wish,
Is he still here?
yeah, so we could, if you want to direct your question to counsel to evaluate the feasibility of assisting the applicant with development of lease that would be sufficient to document site control.
And when I'm hearing from the board, and I have the concerns myself, and I think we've experienced this. Because this is in Coyote Valley, and they've been going through land acquisition, and not everybody wants to play nice with us. And so, I think that's what's on our mind myself, some of the questions going on. Bill, are you on the call?
I am here. Good evening, everyone.
All right. Director Kenneth, you want to direct your question?
Were you awake during this process?
I was, but it's a little difficult to hear on the audio, candidly. So if you could repeat it, I'd appreciate it.
The concern is there is no formal agreement between the applicant and the owner of the land involved. And we're concerned that things happen, and would it be correct for us all, or other agencies as well, to perhaps put a lease together or some kind of LOI even, or LOI.
No, it's a really good question. I mean, site control is one of the issues that staff and I talk about quite often. And so I could work with staff on dealing with that very issue, because you're correct. If there's no particular commitment in terms of site control, it can create problems. Absolutely.
Yeah, apparently there's several siblings, etc., and as you know, stuff happens.
That's right. So it's a valid concern.
So, are you okay with that?
Well, as long as, it's in our protections, this wasn't, raised by the staff here. And she did write that letter of support, and I haven't had anyone else, so Valley Water did not raise this issue in our contract. So I think it's interesting.
We're smarter than they
You know,
are. Or more paranoid. I don't know which it is.
as long as we can continue with the project and you're protected and we're protected, then I'm perfectly happy to, work with you on that.
Appreciate it.
Okay. All right, I think we've exhausted questions on this one. Yes,
Except I just wanted to clarify that we're doing what Director Kennett, if we fund this, we would be doing what Director Kennett says and make it contingent on being able to come up with. Okay.
Bill, is that allowable, that we can make a contingent on the agreement?
You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, this board has authority to make a grant conditional, and given the circumstances, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Thank you.
I guess that can be part of what even that's been said tonight. I'm not sure if the father owns it.
Oh, no, that is not true. Other does not own it.
So he owns it.
Yes.
Outright.
Yeah, he owns another 9 acres. Oh, but family, all the siblings are really supportive of this land being kept as agriculture. And I understand, your position, but I just wanted you to know that. And I've known us for 20 years and worked with her. And
I'm sure you're right, but stuff happens. If she goes away and the siblings decide on it, it's just.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, Molly.
Sure.
All right, woo. The next organization is Vegilution, and I believe we have Mari Menares to speak first.
President Booker just logged in.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Good evening, Board of Directors and Open Space Authority staff. My name is Lauren Mars. I'm the Facility Director at Vegilution. First, I want to thank you for the work serving on this board and representing the communities you all live and work in. In fall of 2019, Vegilution completed an 18-month land use planning process with support from Open Space Authority Santa Clara Valley. 6 months later, the COVID-19 pandemic arrived with devastating consequences for the health and economic well-being of our East San Jose community. The Vegilution team quickly turned our attention to the crisis at hand by doubling our food distribution and community engagement efforts to serve the most vulnerable families. In some of the most difficult moments of our work, we found renewed strength in witnessing that our parks and open spaces can serve as essential resources for families and youth, both day-to-day and in time of crisis. Now, Vegilution's Field to Farm Stand project will take the ideas surfaced in our community-led land use plan to the next stage in the form of a comprehensive site design and construction of a new and expanded produce packing station. These improvements will allow us to expand our direct food assistance services and educational programming that strengthen community connections. Our farm, located in urban East San Jose, is an essential ally in the effort to reach California's 30 by 30 environmental protection goals. Our initiative is located in the regional city of San Jose Park, making it an ideal location to demonstrate the potential of multi-benefit urban open spaces. In the past 3 years, we have distributed over 300,000 farm boxes with produce sourced from Santa Clara Valley farmers to respond to the increase in food insecure families who neighbor the farm. We currently pack and distribute 325 farm boxes weekly to families. We believe that this is a resilient model that can be replicated throughout the valley, including in Coyote Valley. Vegilution's Field to Farm Stand project offers educational opportunities for volunteers to interact with their food system and open space in a unique way, whether they're engaging with our network of farmers, entering survey data, storing produce in the solar-powered produce cooling unit, packing produce at a good agricultural practices certified packing station, or delivering farm boxes. Through hands-on learning, they become ambassadors of a more innovative and resilient local food. Since joining Vegilution in 2021 and having co-led the development of our 25-year lease with the City of San Jose over the past year, I can confirm that we have sufficient site control to ensure that the new infrastructure will remain in use as a publicly accessible space for at least 20 years. An investment in the expansion and improvement of Vegilution's Field to Farm Stand initiative will also be an investment in the long-term economic, social, and environmental health. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public? Okay.
Maybe.
Yes,
Doug? Oh,
Wow. Now it's time to talk about Vegilution.
okay. My wife and I, Young, and I have been pretty intimately involved with Vegilution as volunteers pretty close to its inception, and been honored and privileged and had a great deal of joy working with everybody there and watching people, interns, employees, come in, learn, grow, and then move on to their next stages because of the incredible administrative, managerial, people-oriented way that Vegilution works. We've done a few thousand of the boxes that Marie just mentioned. It's an incredible group of people that constantly grows and evolves as they grow the farm from, I think it was like an acre or two, and now it's 6. Grow the buildings to have more capacity to host events and protect us from the sun as we pack boxes or whatever events. I let's see, I had a long list of things. 2 minutes is not very long. So wanted to mention how incredibly integrated it is with the neighborhood. And if you go, you see children in the children's garden, which is right behind us in that picture, to ancient people like me and even older than me, involved and engaged and in volunteering. The fact that there's bees and pollinators and plants of every conceivable kind, that they reach out to all the different ethnic demographic groups is marvelous. They don't only feed people by giving them food, they teach them about food and how it grows and how to have healthy foods, show them how to cook. It's just, we are just so blessed to have met and been involved with Veggielution from the beginning and into the future. That's it, right?
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you. There's I believe another speaker, 2 more speakers. I don't have the name, but Jessica will be next. One moment.
I'm ready to go when you guys are.
Okay, 1 second. Oh, I see.
But it's okay, because Veggielution is a sister agency of the Si Se Puede Collective, which the School of Arts and Culture is a part of. And so we are here in support of their agency as well. Our team has had technical difficulties. We were on the YouTube, but that's on us. But let's speak about Veggielution. Veggielution, they've got an urban farm in Mayfair, and the work that they do is incredibly important. And so when I think about investments that are being made in the East Side, we think about Veggielution, right? And so I just want y'all to know that they have our full support.
Great, and through the chair, it would be your decision if you'd like to kind of jump back up to I believe that they're also here to speak on School of Arts and Culture and has a technical difficulty to join at that time. So if you'd like, we can have members of the public speak on that as well.
Directors, would you like to ask some many questions? Yes. Seeing nodding.
Maybe
Okay.
finish what you.
All right, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So first we need to make sure we're finished with Veggielution and then we'll go there. Okay, gotcha. Okay, great. Oh, okay. So I don't believe there's any other speakers for Veggielution, but we can go to questions.
Sorry, this is Vanessa Shi, co-executive director of the School of Arts and Culture. I would also like to speak on behalf of Veggielution's proposal as well.
All right, one moment. We'll cue you up. Thanks for your patience.
So Jessica has already mentioned that Veggielution is a sister agency within the Si Se Puede Collective. I also wanted to add that through Veggielution's leadership in really examining food systems in East San Jose, we're looking at ways in which not just to mitigate climate change, but also to build out the economic systems within the neighborhood as well, especially through Jobs to Grow program, of which Veggielution is a leader, and specifically their Eastside Grown program. We now have pathways for people in the community to have their own businesses and take advantage of policy shifts within the county, across the state and the city. And so just wanted to lend, again, our organizational support for Veggielution and their proposal. Thank you.
All right. Are there any more speakers for Veggielution? Casey? I appreciate the solidarity between the groups of this. That's wonderful. All right. All right, now we'll open up to questions from directors, and the question will apply to Veggielution. Then we'll hop over to School of Arts and Culture. Yes, Director Fong.
Yes, thank you, and I've been to Veggielution events and.
Great. I'm sorry, directors, can you, we've been asked to lean closer to the mic. The people on Zoom can't hear us very well. Thanks.
Okay. So, like I said, I've been to events and things over at Veggielution, British Farms and all that. So that's all good stuff. So you talked about your grower association.
Mhm.
And do those include growers in the Coyote Valley?
Not specifically Coyote Valley yet. There's the hope that we can bring in more folks from there. I mean, it does include growers within Morgan Hill. It does include growers in Gilroy, Hollister. We also have growers outside of Santa Clara Valley, right on the edges, Fresno. We're also bringing in growers a little bit further out from the Salinas area. But the Eastside Connect program, which you're referring to, is the program that distributes farm boxes. That's the 325 that we distribute weekly to those who are experiencing some sort of food insecurity in and around inside of our zip codes in that area. And we have currently 9 farms that we're sourcing from, and all of those produce, including produce from our farm, go into those boxes weekly. The hope as we build this program over time, and we're starting to see it now, which is very exciting, is that we can cycle farmers in and out of this program as the farms who've worked with us for a period of time graduate on to sort of larger programs or larger connections to sell their produce. And that is happening now. So we're actually having some of those conversations around opening up to more farmers.
So you're thinking about yourself being more of an incubator and getting people into farming that they can.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we currently act as an aggregator essentially, but you know, we're in the middle of a food hub feasibility study as well. That's USDA funded. That completes in February. And that food hub feasibility study is looking at our farm and other locations in Eastside San Jose to really understand what it means for us to be a hub, a food hub, a place where we can support beginning farms or small BIPOC farms, like we're talking 20 acres or less. In one of the farms that we're sourcing from right now is about the same size as us, 7 acres. So we're really hoping to, one, have a place where those farmers can actually connect with others. And then also where we can source from them and put them into our boxes. So build our smaller network of Santa Clara Valley farmers.
So what I'm kind of stabbing at here,
Okay.
bits and pieces, is this organization has agricultural edict that we
Yes.
must follow. And we're trying to create sustainability for everybody in the South Bay in this county, including farmers within the valley. Do you see this project having any links to that? I know you
course.
just think that for sustainability and for, you know, people being in with food boxes. But what is Vegelution's role that this may be able to incubate and help you get there?
Well, we need the place to pack accordingly first, because number one, we are, right, that's why we're starting in on this. I mean, we just signed our 25-year agreement in January, and that's allowing us, like, we just signed this agreement with the city. And then we submitted this grant in February, this grant with us in February. And really the first facility we need is this packing station. We need it to be able to receive accordingly all of the produce from these farmers. In this post-harvest packing facility includes what we just permitted. We just permitted this, like at the beginning of July, finally went through the whole city process. A solar powered 20-foot refrigerated cooling unit, because we need cooling in order to do that. I mean, that was every farm or group that was attempting to aggregate food from other farmers said you need cooling, because just to receive produce from them, it doesn't always happen on the same day. You have to be able to like extend the life of the produce. And so we just got that permitted. That's a 20 Connex unit, 20-foot Connex unit for cold storage. That's totally off the grid, solar powered. Maybe one day the city will bring power to us and we'll give them more power. But hey, but you know, as now we're generating power ourselves and it's working. And so we're prepping for that. We're preparing for that. In order to catch those farmers and really support them and service them, we need to have the facility in place.
I would want to jump on Director Blogger because I like to do this. we've had conversations, and I think looking at Coyote Valley, we hear from landowners there. Kind of indicate that agriculture doesn't work. So what we're looking for are things, spark plugs, right? That when we can show that agriculture, the soil is great, it doesn't produce food, we can grow it locally, we can feed people locally, and anything that we can do to help that effort just validates the work that we're doing to save that land. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, and totally, we're with you. It validates our work to be able to serve our immediate communities who are food insecure.
Right.
You know, and also to let them know that, hey, this food is coming from Santa Clara Valley. It's coming from here. That's part of the story.
Right.
That we share with them.
And if those young farmers out there in Coyote Valley, you know.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of the young farmers they're ready to talk about their experiences and talk about what they're doing in order to, you know, bring health to the soil. And you know, sort of the regenerative practices that they themselves are putting in place. It's pretty impressive. Some of these young, amazing farmers are doing. A lot of females too.
Let me ask a quick question. It's just for my understanding. So Vegelution is, what is the actually the core business for that? So I understand that one is so you guys getting produce from the different farmers. They just bring it to you guys, and then on which process you are using the first one and the end process. You get the produce from there. What is the Vegelation's actually the main function is there?
Yeah, we are a food anchored nonprofit. So we believe that service like food connects us to the land, it connects us to agriculture, and also sustains our communities. It also gives us the opportunity to have conversations about food and wellness and the environment through food that's grown either at our farm or within the valley. And the specific program that I'm talking about, our Eastside Connect program, is our food distribution program. And so that food distribution, that program, as I said, serves 325 families currently. Our goal is to get to 500 by 2020. But that specific arm of our work is food distribution from our local food system. So that's the whole idea.
I understand
Yeah.
that. And my main question that when the farmer brings up produce of the food to you,
Yes,
then you box it.
we box it, yes.
Okay.
We
So
box it.
that's what I'm saying. What is the process? You have any manual boxing or you have any kind of technology you are using, and after you box it, where that go and then how you can just distribute that?
Got it.
Just want to be understandable.
Oh,
the
got it.
process.
You want the operations.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I'm just totally sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So boxes, we do everything actually on Friday. So currently our farmers, like between 6 and 8 a.m. in the morning, they show up at our farm. They come in through a main service gate onto public land because we're at a city park, Amakush Park in San Jose. They drive on and they bring all of their boxes of produce to our makeshift packing area in our post-harvest area right now, which sits between a solar battery unit, Connect unit, and the refrigerator unit right now, and it has a shade over it. It works. It's not the best and it's not the most comfortable. It's not the most secure in that all of our equipment is still kind of open to the public, which is why we need a packing station. So once all the produce gets to us, we put some of it into the cooling unit, and then we put some of it on the line. And the line includes really great equipment that was CDFA. That was you funded. Authority funded. It's the conveyor belt.
Conveyor system, yeah.
Conveyor system.
Yeah, I
It's a
remember
U-shaped-
that.
Yes, exactly. It's the U-shaped conveyor system. That was on my first day here. My job was to lead the volunteers to put that together. So thank you for that. So that conveyor system, all the food is parsed onto central shelves, and then a U-shaped conveyor system. And then we have 10 to 20 volunteers show up every Friday, including Doug and Chef White, who just spoke with us, to help pack 350 boxes. Then those boxes are placed either in the cooling unit or brought to our farm stand, which is near the main entrance of our farm. The main entrance of our farm is actually connected to the main parking area for Emma Bruce Park. And so that farm stand is there. All of those who come pick up about 200, I'm sorry, we're at 325. So 275 boxes are picked up by participants. So they drive out or bike out or somehow public transportation out to our farm to pick up boxes. The other 50 are delivered to homes. So those who have mobility issues, health issues that prevent them from actually coming out to the farm, they're delivered through another nonprofit partner or through twice a month, they're delivered by bike through Silicon Valley Bike, a partnership with Silicon Valley Bike Coalition, and then again, volunteers who are delivering bike.
Thank you very much. Actually, I don't want to give you a hard time, but I just want to understand the process. So 250K, you guys asking the money, where you want to use that money in that process?
Yeah, the money is going to build us a new packing station at the center of our farm. The current packing station we had was near the entryway, which is not the ideal place for a packing station. You want the packing station at the center of your farm, in your post-harvest area, near your cooling, right in the center of the fields, so that we can get even more visitors like at the center of the farm, seeing where things happen.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi. This all sounds great. I just wanted to understand another piece of your model. Do people pay for the boxes? Is it like a CSA?
People do not pay for the boxes, actually.
How do the farmers get paid?
So excitingly enough, over the pandemic, the city through ARPA funding funded majority of the boxes that are being distributed. To those who qualify under specific qualifications, they have to be within qualified census tracts. So we do all of that qualification process for each of the participants that show up or sign up for this box. We were just recently awarded for the next year funding to cover these boxes from the county through their, I always forget the name of the grant. Direct food assistance grant from the county. And that starts in August, and that will give us an entire year of funding, which is exciting because it gives us that opportunity to show that the county is in support of bringing healthy food to our families who need it most in East San. And so we're hoping to continue that relationship with them. I feel like it's gonna happen, but that's what covers the cost of food. And that's how the farmers are then paid. The farmers are paid the best rate possible that they can ask for their food. All the farmers grow organically. All of them, though they're small, are going through good agricultural practices to a certain extent. So they're learning, right? And we're working with them. You know, we have to be relatively, we have to be in constant contact with our farmers, these small farmers, because something can completely devastate their crop one day, and then we'd have to shift, which means relying on another farmer. So we're speaking with them weekly, on a weekly basis. The team, my amazing little Eastside Connect Farm team, is doing this on a weekly basis.
Okay, thank you. And I also wanted to understand, I saw questions from the Citizens Advisory Committee about money in the possible grant being spent for salaries, but I didn't understand that answer.
Yeah, there's a percentage of the grant funds that are put towards salaries. Like I said, we just recently completed an installation of a solar powered cooling unit on site. A lot of work that goes involved in working with the city and getting them permitted. They are a landlord and they are in support of these projects, but the conversation around what's happening and why it's important needs to happen many times. And then also you have to be able to stay on top of them when they ask for the entire cooling unit to be anchored because it may fly away in the wind, or things like that. Like there are inspection processes that our staff need to keep up to date on when we're working with permitting things on public land.
So the salaries would be for the people who are working on the packing station.
Yes.
And only for the duration of that project.
Yes.
I'm going to ask my question I've asked everybody else. So if we were to award partial funding, would that slow your process down? Would it be
able to work with you?
We're starting on a 3-year calendar. The 25-year agreement is allowing us to do all the infrastructural improvements we need to do in this park. This grant is focusing on this post-harvest packing station area. But we need to do more. We want to put, we want to make sure to complete our native perimeter. We want to make sure to improve upon protecting our fields because there are wild birds on site. We have a lot of infrastructural improvements to do. So this would be part of a 3-year, probably $750,000 cost. This would kick off our capital campaign for all of that. And, you know, given our 25-year agreement, we can do this. We can now run on a capital campaign, starting with the generosity of the business. Thank you.
My question is, has the county then committed to the increased number that you're hoping to be able to
Yes.
produce?
Yeah, so
Is there a cap that they put on?
they're covering the total cost of the increased number over that time period.
So if it turns out you could do 800, then you do 800?
Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry. We gave them a number for what that increase would be over the year and they committed to that number. We haven't yet had a conversation. If it goes to 800, but at the same time, I will say going to 800 would mean more facility improvement and more staffing. So sticking to 500 would be amazing, would be sustainable.
So I wanted to go back to something. And that is, in this grant, there's salary considerations. So what is our policy on salary considerations in capital grants?
Through the chair, I can speak to that one. We don't have a specific requirement for salary as part of the grant program, you know, the guidelines that were passed. It's something we look at when we're evaluating, you know, what's going into the project. But depending on the project, many projects need staff time in order to move the project forward. So we look at it as an eligible cost, you know, good part of project planning, depending on the project. So they vary. That was why we didn't put any specific number on it.
So what would the salaries be?
The salaries would cover all of the work involved in having built this. So that includes
Just building.
yeah, I mean, in addition, I mean, this packing.
Not going in.
Well, this packing, we're not building it ourselves, but this packing station does need to include the thought around good agricultural practices, which is our staff is trained in that. And so we would then have to inform some of the design staff, some of those building on some of those pieces. Also, like I said to Vicky, there's a lot of back and forth with city staff and the service providers involved in building this on site on public land. We, having just done it with our solar cooling unit, we're well aware of the amount of time spent by our staff in ensuring that these projects go up according to the needs.
So it would be to get this thing up and online, not long-term operation.
Oh, no, that's covered by other money. Yeah.
And through the chair, just to clarify for O&M, these are 3-year grants. So even if they had some amount of maintenance, it would only be during the grant term. In this case, they don't, but just throwing that out there, that's not how this funding would work.
I think the project, when you just design any kind of project, no matter what kind of project, the whole funding is included inside you're right, the salary is also the part of the project. The overall cost, whatever you just come up with that include everything. Yeah, so salary is also part.
How much is the packing shed gonna cost? What's the budget for it?
I mean, there's the breakdown in the packet. It includes the cost for the design and service providers, and then also the materials and supplies cost. And so you'll see that in the second and third sections of the budget.
Gotcha. And, kind of sort of related question. Are those boxes recycled? Are they used over and over?
When they get to the home, we don't know. We encourage recycling. For any boxes on site that that we pack, if we do have excess, we do keep them for the next round of packing. And then whenever we do, I don't know, movement of produce between farmstead, packing shed, or delivery to other places, we recycle as much as possible. Yeah, but when it gets to the home, when it gets to someone's home, we don't usually know. We can encourage them to recycle. Though some folks actually leave their box with us and decide to take the produce in bags, one, because ease of carrying it back to their car. And so those boxes generally, if they're in good working order. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, and through the chair, at this time, would you like to go back up to the School of Arts and Culture at this time?
Yes, yes, we have them, they're online now, since you guys wanted to. They had technical difficulties and now they're online. For the questions you had that we couldn't ask. Okay. Ready? School of Arts.
We have someone that would like to speak for 2 minutes, I believe, or? Oh, Chris, who signed up to be the official rep, I believe, here for 3 minutes. Chris, are you online?
Okay, I'm sorry, yes.
Perfect. Yeah, you can go ahead, thanks.
Thank you, guys. My apologies. I had a power shifted off in my house and it kind of messed everything up I was planning to do, waiting to join. But post that, I wanted to just kind of let you know where we're at with our project. We're in an advanced design stage, about 90%, 95% through conceptual. We're starting to see the folks from Steinberg, Hart, and Base exterior designers. They're working on a third space sidewalk interaction that we're incredibly excited about, and will, for the first time, at least on the east side, will interface public space and private space in both kind of a seamless way, but also in a way that really includes the community. And I mean that in the sense of there's going to be kind of interactions with entrepreneurs. We're creating kind of a vendor booth that will move off the building onto the sidewalk very easily by just moving some bars. There's a mural project that will be the backdrop of all of this. A lot of new plant life, which is, if you know a little bit about the east side, a lot of the plant life has over the years has been taken out or not taken care of or just removed by other projects, and we're trying to put as much of that back as possible, including elements of like an herb garden and pieces of that greenery that will work with some of the items being served from the cafe. It is an interactive third space. We're reviewing the plans in the next week or two, actually, as they finish up the cafe and the theater. It will also be supporting the Gardner Family Health, the Wellness Center, and they're planning to do everything from mental support counseling to chiropractic and dentistry in that space. So we're going to have this incredibly unique corner that interfaces with arts, culture, all the things that can happen in a black box theater, all the kind of happenings of a community in a third space, and really the space that I think will be almost the most powerful in the sense of the attraction to that will be what happens on the sidewalk, on the side of that space. It's quite large. It's
Thank
literally
you. Thank you,
2,000
President.
square feet plus.
Sorry, thank you, the 3 minutes is up.
At this time, are there any other speakers from the School of Arts and Culture? Okay.
Okay. Director Ken.
Now, what percent of how much is this whole project scheduled to cost? And so we know what percent, assuming we continue to approve this. How far will this 250,000 go towards completion?
Great question. We're still in the process of the design phase and understanding what, there'll be probably some value engineering to understand how deeply we go. It's a pretty ambitious project with the art, the facade. But our best estimate is $321K in the sense of total costs. We've raised about 24 million for this project. We have $1 million left to raise. We will be doing that. It's in the works, and we know that the total budget is higher than the grant amount, but we plan on having the funds for that as a part of our TIs and improvements.
Right, thank you.
Okay, same question. So if we were to award partial funding for this, and I think you pretty much answered it, would you be okay to move forward?
Absolutely.
Okay. No question? Okay, thank you. And I understand about power outages and internet non-contact activity. So I'm having that myself. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for hearing us out. Again, my apologies. We really appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you. So at this time, through the chair, it's up to the board of directors if you'd like to hear from any applicants that were not recommended by the CDC or staff. I know that we have some that are here or signed up that would be available this week. So
I also wanted to ask the workers, if anybody wants to take a 30-second, want to stand up and stretch? Yeah? Okay, great. All right, 5-minute bathroom break.
okay, 5 minutes. So we'll return at 7:35.
Director Flaher. Director Flaher, Paging Director Flaher. And thank you, Carolyn, for passing out the correspondence that came in. During our brief break, and we were going to stretch like a little bit. Okay. So at this point, I do think we do have, I see we have our city forest in the audience and we have council member Candelas in the audience. So I think we should at least entertain, those two. Is there anybody else here that's on the do not recommend that's in the audience other than the two that I see? Jackie, could we bring forward our city forest and then Councilmember Candelas?
Great, yes, we have Rhonda Berry here. Yeah.
Greetings. So I don't know if any of you aren't familiar with our city forest, but I just want to say we're a forestry organization serving especially the San Jose area for 30 years now, and planting trees and also converting lawns to drought tolerant gardens for low income people. And we have focused an awful lot of our work in the low income areas because the state and federal grants, which have provided funding to us for tree planting, have been transportation related projects, which highways tend to run through the lower income areas. And so our Urban Forest Education Center is a 2-acre parcel at Marshall Cottle Park. We have a partnership with the County Parks Department, and we were elated to receive a parcel. We have a lease with the county. We were especially excited to receive before the pandemic a grant from Open Space Authority to build an outdoor classroom structure. And we got that done during the pandemic, and we love our little space. But other than that support from the Open Space Authority, it's been very difficult for us to build out our parcel. However, we have planted an arboretum of various species that are good for planting in the city. We do focus on urban trees. And we have our lawn conversion program out there where we provide do-it-yourself workshops because our list is so long for that program. And so the whole idea of the education center is obviously to have an outdoor venue for environmental education with the focus on trees. I'd like to think of it as the Bill's backyard for trees. And that is our vision. And I've been to some arboretums in the country that, you know, we've gotten some great ideas from, like the one I'm drawing a blank outside Chicago. And it's so inspiring for children and families and what have you. So the whole goal is to make our parcel, our urban forest center, more attractive, safer, and just more appealing so that people who do come and come out to the center will be more inspired, more encouraged to adopt trees and learn how to plant and take care of them. So many don't realize that 85% of the urban forest is actually.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Are there any other speakers for our city forest?
All right, hearing no other speakers, questions?
Yeah, I think I always started.
I tried
Even though I'm the last.
No.
The question, it's just when we get off to the start. So, saying outside of the funding allocation. I just want to need a little bit more education on that.
Sure, so through the chair, the allocation for the capital projects is $750,000. The applications are scored by staff rank according to the process of review, and so
The
any.
reason I asked then might be the organization is understand why it's not selected. I personally, I knew that why is out of the funding allocations. That's why I want to be just need more clarifications.
You're asking why this was lower? on the
Yeah.
list?
Yeah,
Yeah, this one, I, not without going into lots of details, the thing from the notes from the staff review. One of the big issue or the concern was that there wasn't a lot of years of site control. I think it's 2 years, 9 months. It's in my notes, and we generally look for 5 years.
I couldn't hear you.
Oh,
I just wanted to hear what you said.
oh, of course. Sorry, I'm having trouble speaking through the mask. I'm like out of practice. It was the site control. So for these projects, we generally require 5 years of site control. And the letter that was submitted had 2 years and 9 months.
So from the county?
Yeah, as the landowner.
I wasn't aware of that. We could have maybe gotten more, because it's just David, or, you know, that kind of thing, and then maybe.
Ron, you're welcome to come to the mic and answer the question. I wasn't aware of that. And I think that's what happened a few years ago when we didn't get funding. Right. But I thought that we had jumped that hurdle. I thought we'd gotten the okay from staff. And so I am a little confused. But anyway, the county has no intention, they're supporting this proposal. They would like us to build out the site, and there's such great potential to do so.
After the chair, if I could just respond. Site control has always been a challenging issue with capital projects. Because of course, we want to make sure that we have, you know, the investment is protected. In this case, what the county provided is a letter that was part of the application packet. And it spells out 2 years, 9 months, so I don't know. But it was part of the packet.
Is that? So it doesn't mean we're ineligible for funding. It means you have a concern about it.
Exactly, about the investment, that dollar amount for this particular time frame, site control.
Thank you very much. That's why I asked this question, and that way she understands why it's not recommended.
Thank you. Through the chair, just as a reminder, we also offer feedback to anyone who isn't awarded to make sure that if we don't talk about it, that we will share whatever feedback we have.
Have you taken this to the County Parks Commission?
We haven't taken it to the commission, but the county, we work very closely with county parks, I guess, and they have not recommended it. I don't know that, but I think that's a good idea.
I would think that it would be an appropriate one to take to them. And anyway, I'll see if I can help you.
Thank you. Well, especially with all the newer excitement of urban forestry. And we've been doing it kind of when it was less sexy for quite a while, 30 years. But it seems like there would be more support.
Yeah, the project is infrastructure on county park land. And even if you were to walk away, it'd still be available for them to use. So I would think that with the support of the supervisors who endorsed it here, that, you know, we can work on both sides. Both sides, both sides.
Yeah, and then we have a lot of nonprofit partners that are interested or part of our stakeholder group that want to use the site as well. The county that 2 years and 9 months is not, doesn't mean anything, but Marshall Caldwell Park isn't gonna go away, and we've been a very good partner, and they love us, and we have been good stewards of the land. And so I feel like, you know, we're gonna need more funding, and so I don't want to lose this opportunity. We didn't get for our programming grant, and I guess that's the same reason, but and I just want to say it's that I meant to apologize to the CAC person, but I didn't when on our way out, that I wasn't at that meeting because I actually literally was in the emergency room that night, getting ready to be cut open. So I didn't make it to the meeting, and I feel bad. It would have been good to kind of know at that time what you were concerned about. But I also wish that in the grant review process that we have an opportunity to understand the impact of that, you know, to work with the county and to come up with something so it's just not so, because I really thought that the Open Space Authority was more interested in urban forestry.
Through the chair, can I just speak to the pre-application and full application process? So for the pre-application, we ask capital applicants to turn in a site control letter. And in the case that they're not able to at that time, which happened with our city forest for this project, we still allowed them to apply for the full application with the caveat that we couldn't verify that they may or may not actually be eligible because of the site control. So in this case, we didn't get the site control letter until after we would have been able to give that feedback about the time. So we got the full application with the site control letter with that. And again, it's the wording in our guidelines is that we generally require X amount of time with X amount of money. So right now it's not like a legal hard, no, you're not eligible, but it does really make a big consideration for the scoring. And maybe that's something we'll review in the future based on feedback or with our legal team, but that's how that stands right now.
And respond. We were notified that we were eligible to come back to apply for the programming grant. And we spent a lot of time on that proposal. And it was only later that we got notification about the capital grant. And we didn't have very much time. And that was our experience with that. And we were thrilled, but we were caught completely by surprise. And maybe that was a notification for everyone. I'm not saying I didn't know if it was unusual, but it seemed like by the time we got that notice that we were really, really stressed to put that together.
All right. Now, Director Kenneth.
Really, there's nothing to ask. Question. Should you have been awarded?
You want to bring yourself closer to the mic?
Hello. Should this have gone through, how much of this funding completed your project? How much is the project going to cost?
So I think because, you know, we need every dollar, but we'll take any dollar we can get. So I don't know if that's a possibility, but the project is incremental in nature. And so by nature, so we want to continue adding educational exhibits and have it really be a destination site like we've seen in Chicago and other areas. This is an urban, you know, it's an arboretum, it's an educational site. So we don't have a budget for a final plan because we've just been trying to we need irrigation, we need electricity, we don't have either of those. We need safe pathways. We have a lot of volunteers that are maintaining the site and coming out. We have a lot of classes for youth out there. And so we're first things first, walking paths, irrigation, electricity, and a greenhouse. And those are our priorities. So we don't have like this dream of huge budget because we don't have that, the resources for that, yeah.
Understand. It's ongoing, it's a kind of project that will never be done, probably, some things, but that said, having a budget overall vision, such that. For, you know, you come back year after year, perhaps, that's fine. It's nice to know where you stand in your budget. Planning.
I'll sit down, Rhonda. So if the board were to consider partial funding for this project, I think I clearly heard you would take anything you got. So that you could phase in part of the educational program and then maybe contingent upon, I'm just throwing it out there, like, you know, a Kickstart grant, not of the total amount, but a small amount, then maybe you could work with a county planning department or county planning commission. And then, you know, augment that and then continue to work. Right.
And I know, I just want you to know, we have a lot of stakeholders that really have a vision for this. And, you know, we do hope to make it happen. And I hope that you really don't believe that it'll never happen. We have a big vision for it. Yeah, big goal.
Thank you, Rhonda. Any other questions? Okay. All right, okay. Last but not least.
I know we have someone from the city of San Jose for the Lake Cunningham project here. I believe Domingo knows.
Thank you. Good evening. Awesome. Madam Chair, members of the board, I'm Domingo Candelas. I am the council representative for District 8 in San Jose. And I have the privilege of being the representative for Lake Cunningham, which is the subject of my comments and the application I'm going to be speaking to towards this evening. With regards to the application, before I begin, I just want to make sure that you all got the letter I submitted earlier on this item, and if not, have brought copies. I know that there are plenty of excellent applications and organizations that are here that do wonderful work in our community. And although this project, specifically this project application, is not recommended for approval, I wholeheartedly believe that it will be an excellent and worthwhile investment for the Open Space Authority. For far too long, the quality of life for our East San Jose residents has been detrimentally affected by numerous variables, whether it's airborne contaminants associated with Reed Hillview Airport, or just poor water quality associated with a poor lake. However, I'm proud to say that that's changing. And you have an opportunity to lead in the transformation of our park. And you know, if the funding is approved tonight, this grant application will support the design and environmental review of an emergent wetland and improve water quality to help move this project towards a longer lasting improvement. I do want to highlight a recent development that has put an increased focus on this lake. Last month, the state of California, through the budget process, allocated $1.5 million towards this exact application, or toward what's this going towards. It's a huge catalyst towards our effort. I've connected with Congressman Jimmy Panetta, and we submitted a federal appropriation earmark for this lake and for this project. I've also spoken to the board members from Valley Water, and they too are committed to improving Lake Cunningham, either through grant funding or other means. They are committed. I strongly believe that we as a community need to come together to show how important this park is to our region. And with your leadership, if OSA approves funding, that will go, this will go towards, this will go a long way towards showing the community that we're in and that we're in it together. It's not just the city, it's not just Valley Water, it's not just OSA, we're doing it together. You know, I want to say this is a little serendipitous. I remember back in 2014, I helped down the original Measure Q campaign, the Yes on Q campaign. And here I am as a council member almost a decade later, advocating for partial funding associated with that measure that we thought was a long shot back almost 10 years ago. And so I'm proud to be here. And you know, I think city staff, they're the experts on this. They're gonna have all the answers with the technical stuff. I will do my best to answer it as well. But I just sincerely want to thank you all for your time and your consideration of the application.
Thank you. And is there anyone else here to speak on this project? Oh, we had someone sign up that said they're available for questions, but they don't wish to speak necessarily. Okay. Oh, Eve, I believe Eve Zudi is raising.
My trails guy.
Okay. If you're there, I believe we're ready for you. Oh,
I believe he's just available for questions.
okay.
Should the board have any questions.
Okay, so no speakers, now we're on to questions.
I think he might be trying to speak.
Yes.
It looks like he's trying to speak, but having an audio issues, they can see him.
We cannot hear you. I can see your mouth moving, but I don't think it's recorded. No, not yet.
All right, shall we start questions, and if it becomes, if it starts working, let us know.
I think he's on mute.
Oh, that's us.
That's us.
Yeah.
This Caroline.
Yeah. Okay, all right, well, let's, oh,
Yeah, I can see him.
I see him, but no.
Yeah, it's his issue.
All right, well, let's start with, and if it happens, just go ahead and interrupt us. Okay. You're the last question? Oh my gosh. All right, Director Kennett, we're gonna go around the room here.
Good shot at Bill.
He's a council member.
I admire that. I use it all the time. So, this has been going on for quite a while, right? And again, it seems to be in the newspaper every other day. Thanks. What part of this, assuming you would get the 250, how far would it go towards overall project, and what is that over?
Yeah, that's a great question, and yeah, I'm proud to say that since I took office maybe 6 months ago, I've been fighting to get the attention of the public for the lake. It's something that we as a city, I'm not ashamed to say we have not been doing our due diligence with it, and so I made it a priority to change that. And so that funding will go towards a prototype of a wetland to hopefully improve the overall lake quality. But it's a step in showing us how to properly do something that's going to improve the water quality. And the beauty of it is it's a scalable prototype. So we can do an acre or we can do half an acre, but it's going to show us and it's going to give us the opportunity to see what's going to move the needle. Along with the potential funding from OSA, we know that the multi-million-dollar effort that we need to get Lake Cunningham how we truly want it, and that's trails activated so people can actually enjoy the lake and not have to worry about falling into the contaminated lake waters. Actual turf and nice areas where kids and families can play and enjoy, and nice wetlands so we can see the birds, fish, and all the beautiful things nature and Silicon Valley has to offer.
No, it totally makes sense, and yeah, it's got a long way to go. It would be a great addition. So I do know something about Lake Cunningham. We were on City Parks Commission.
You're dating us.
A few years back.
Family history.
Years back.
Can you hear me now?
There it is.
Okay, all right. We're gonna, Eve, go ahead.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I think there's just a real problem with my computer in the Open Space Authority. I want to echo what the council member said, but I think we are excited to see some state support for this project now. We've budgeted funds in our city budget for this project. OSA still has an important role in this project. I worked with the city lobbyist. We identified 11 state and federal grant programs. I went through all of them very carefully. I was down to one federal program and the Open Space Authority as valid sources for where we are on this project. Getting Open Space Authority involvement in this project brings along your brand, which conveys to the community and other grant funders that we have a serious open space provider and an environmental steward on our project. Also, we've completed a study that's comprehensive with the $34 million work plan. So we don't have enough money with your grant or the state money, but what we have is the intent to do some prototyping out here and start small with a 1 acre effort to convert irrigated mowed turf into a flow through wetland and see how that affects the lake and if it's beneficial and how to appropriately scale it and manage it. That will give us certainty before we spend a lot of money on a number of solutions. We want to pinpoint what is really going to work and put the money there. And I'll leave you with the idea that this site was not always a lake, but it was always a wet piece of land. It was wetland in the late 1800s. The area was known as Laguna Seca. And the type of work we're doing here is to restore that type of landscape to this site while being very mindful that we want to move trails to different locations. So there's good viewing and public recreation, but get this jewel in East San Jose back up and running so people can enjoy it visually and have some limited access to it. Thank you.
Okay, back to you.
I have a question of Eve.
Okay.
Hello, Eve. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
So I was curious in this endeavor, are you looking at also how you're going to be able to control the alkali problem that is long-term there?
Yeah, the work plan, there's 13 different measures or 13 different projects, and we're working on project 9 of that list. We're looking. I'm not a scientist in this area, nor scientist is in a general practice, but we're looking at the use of alum and other treatments to bind. And one of the challenges we have that we need to experiment with that solution as well is we have groundwater bringing up and churning the lake as well. So we want to be looking at anything that we're binding in the lake as being bound and secured and not just going back into the blender and causing a problem. So I can work with the OSA staff to get our study posted. So if you wanted to go into that level of detail, it's about 200 pages of data on this project.
Yeah, I'd like to see those kind of things. And hopefully, well, that's going to be a test later. So also, are you looking into redoing things like the old park course that used to be there and other features that is part of this rehabbing of the lake?
Are we looking at redoing a park?
The park course.
There's a large area of irrigated turf, which is very difficult for staff to maintain. And it has very low recreational value because it's either degraded or wet. So that park element comes out. The issues with the conventional park features would be different work plan. The project is funded for regular maintenance, but it also needs an infusion of more capital dollars. But this project right now and in the city budget is around water quality and improving that situation.
Okay, thank you.
Director Animal.
At one time, Lake Cunningham was used by high school track teams to do competition on. Is it still being used like that?
It is not.
It's not, okay.
But I will say that every other Saturday, we do have community volunteers who grow or work and participate in the vegetable garden that we have on site and the natural garden that we have on site volunteers and we do have regularly activated residents who participate on a regular Saturday morning just to walk at Avon, but nothing organized in schools.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in those days, it was a broader community that was served by because of all of the athletic programs. Thank you.
All right, I pass this to everybody. It's your turn now. So if we were to consider partial funding, would that be acceptable?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the collective effort and the fact that the Open Space Authority, to piggyback on what you said, is the collective effort that we're showing the community and that we're showing the residents of East San Jose, who are largely feel disenfranchised. And, you know, I remember swimming in this lake when I was a kid. And so, you know, not that we're gonna have people swimming in it, but the fact that policymakers and leaders like yourselves are committed to Lake Cunningham alongside myself, Assemblymember Fowler, and other leaders in the area, is a big indicator for the community. So absolutely.
Councilman Wright, I appreciate your passion, and I can attest to the fact on the city side, he brings us up every possible chance he gets. So we are not the only agency he's going after. So and as I said, from someone that, you know, appreciates working in the environment, it's nice to see a champion for somebody that's trying to put money into the park system in the city. So thank you. Alexandra, any questions?
Yes. I just wanted to understand what the metrics or the deliverable would be on this, because you're asking for funding, or they are, for design and environmental review. Is that right? And then there are city funds, not for that, but that would help implement the project. Is that correct?
That's a question for you.
Yeah. Right now in the city budget, we have dollars that are flexible for generally the development of the project. So the Open Space Authority money would support city dollars in creating a design package. So the project documents we would give to a contractor, and the environmental clearance so that we could legally build the project. And then that would, as of last week, that would have left us an incomplete share of funding to construct the project. But with $1.5 million coming from the state, it puts us in a position to advance construction. And I only have some hesitancy in that we haven't begun the design to confirm that number, but the budget we're looking at the state looks like it would be enough for what we envisioned. But I do want to echo the council member. Having OSA's brand out here with us is very, very valuable to us. So a smaller increment of funding is welcome because the power of the brand is not diminished by that award.
Thank you. All right, you're last.
Yeah,
This is your district.
I know, that's why I need an last. So, board members already asked many questions to council member. I think since I'm living that district for last 40 years, and I totally understand that area, and that park is really need improvement. And I think maybe if we can do something, and I'm appreciated that. And definitely, there are a lot of community members going every evening and morning, or walking, and then children. When my children was young age, my son was with his actually the classroom, Mr. Contreras. So he's a doctor now, and then we went there very often, and I think we need to be helped pretty in that project.
Thank you, Director Gill. All right, any other questions? Okay, I think this now closes the public commenting portion of the meeting. Now the fun begins. All right, at this point, I've been making jotting some notes. And I don't know if it would help you if I start off with kind of my draft proposal, and then I'm open to seconds or thirds or fourths or whatever, how we can amendments, how we can get to a vote. It's been a long night, but you know, I think my colleagues, I think we've asked a lot of good questions, and we've had a lot of great presentations, and thank you everybody in the audience that's been here all evening and listening to the round of questions. I mean, it speaks to the value of the authority that you're willing to come and, you know, ask for one of our grants. And I think that, you know, getting our name out there in the community as possible. It's why we're here, why we serve. So, you know, thank you again for this. So, all right, I'm gonna just
throw this out there and we'll start with this. So I'm thinking of, my recommendation would be to fully fund the Sensei Discovery Museum at 124. For the School of Arts and Culture, give them 200K. For the Santa Clara Unified School District, 200K. For not to fund the California Native Garden Foundation, I was concerned. For Vegelution to do 200K. For our city forest to give them 100K and to give, for branding purposes, I love that one. To give Lake Cunningham 50K, so that, and I totaled it to 874. So it's not, it's a little bit in there, but not. I can see that. But again, I think that gives us a pretty round estimate if that works. All right, there's our first amendment.
Well, I would propose that the 120. And then all of the applicants who pass for the but thank you. The full funding for the Discovery Museum, the applicants, the School of Arts, the Santa Clara Unified School District, the Vegetation and Lake Cunningham at 150. And that are native plant contingent upon that they have a formal lease agreement with their landowner. And that those terms would be fully disclosed to us. And that it would be for a minimum of, I would like to say, 10 years. 5 and 5.
Okay, so. Barney, my turn? Oh, yeah.
What is the total for this?
Yes.
720,000 plus. So it's just.
Can you rattle off which agencies you're, okay, Discovery Museum, total 124, right? Okay, for School of Arts and Culture, that was 150, okay. I'm gonna do side by side here. Santa Clara Unified, 150. Okay, Native Garden would be the 63, but contingent. Okay. And then Vegelution, 150, okay. And Lake Cunningham, 150.
I think I have this thing.
Okay.
This one.
Guys have that? You're gonna just start doing spreadsheets.
We're working on some screen sharing, because I'm trying to capture more suggestions and you can double check.
Okay.
This is mine.
Oh.
What's it called? Capital Awards Counts.
And it's something like that.
In my mouth. Can we find it? No.
Oh, no. Oh, yes, yes. No, hold on.
Yeah.
Megan, what I would like you to do is send a link to the file in Teams to Presenter app. I can't, yeah, sorry. Yeah. No, hold on. Oh, you want me to stop the share?
Yes.
Okay. Or a screen share only the application.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see where we're in the process of looking at that.
You want me to what? Share screen, click on that. Yes.
And then our application for live meeting. And then back to the
So
display.
you want me to start? Actually?
I think we're gonna wait till we get the.
Okay.
Sorry.
So close. Okay.
Then we can.
Oh,
Then I
no,
think
no.
it
Oh, because it didn't happen in the room. I can't do it in the room. It's not happening. I can't change it in the room. You have to let me do it. So.
I sent you the
750 was the total, right? And then we can dip into the 812.
Mine dipped into it by.
You're sending it here, Megan.
Oh, you just said send it to you, I didn't send it to
Yeah, sorry. That's where I needed you to send it. And then I can open it.
Shared with presenter.
Oh, okay.
Mine was just for throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
No.
My total was 787 to.
Give me the pen.
Okay, so.
Not yet. Are you ready for me to share it on the Zoom? Okay. Don't show. Hold on. Almost. New share. Full screen. Share.
I think there might be another one.
Okay, so you got mine. And Garnetta's. Okay.
Totals are down here at the bottom, oh, they might be off the screen.
Hold on. Let me hide the ribbon.
If you minimize the toolbar.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Except the 15 needs to move up to one. Column line 10, the 50,000.
Oh, yeah.
Needs to move up to line 9.
Right now, the 50,000.
I'm not doing it too good.
Oh,
I'm just the vehicle for share.
thank you.
Because we can't get their computer.
Good, all right, so you got two. All right,
And she wants.
Director Gill,
Yeah, so.
your turn.
I mean, the children discovery, I'm sure that. Okay, that's fine. Student arts, 150. Unified school district, 150.
Director Gill,
Ah.
would you mind speaking into the
Oh,
mic?
yeah.
And then inject a little slower so that she can capture.
Okay, so let me start again then. Children Discovery Museum, 124K. And then go back to schools of arts and culture is 150. Santa Clara Unified School District, 150. I'm doubted about the California native. I'm not, I don't want to be give anything. 0 there. Resolution 150. City of, City Forest is 100K. City of San Jose 200.
For the city of San Jose, that's the Lake County town.
Yeah.
Same. Make it your total.
Yes, he's got. You did that. Right. So we have proposal 1, 2, and 3. Any other proposals? Or we negotiate the proposals? No. Here, Director Kenneth.
Yes, I like it. It's like add a little bit in there. Maybe to bring it to the peak.
That was adding our city forest
And,
was the same as Director Animals, but adding how much for our city forest?
well. 5,000.
24,787.
You just add your others.
Now there's another. And we're gonna go through.
Just a point of order, because we're using Rosenberg's rules of orders, we can only take 3 motions at a time, and we can start with the last one. So if we're to vote on these, we would start with Director Kenneth, Gills, and then Animals.
Okay, are there any more suggestions? You can opt it if you.
I don't know, I just want to say that. I think it's very important that we keep within our main funding stream. And so that's why my number is close to 750. That's one of the most significant differences.
I think
I think our city forest, we can give them some support in other ways with the county. So that they can get a stronger beginning. This is a major infrastructure project. It's going to be permanent as part of Marshall Product. And that's why I would ask for support on
I'm under the impression A12 was our kind of major max. That's why.
It's, yeah. Just to, through the chair, just to clarify, the 812 number was not related to, it was just the remainder would be if we had awarded only the top 4 recommended, so it's not like, I think sense that that goes out.
So I'd like to understand through. Last proposal is Director Kenneth, so that would be the first one that we vote on.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to.
So how it work then? We have 4 proposals.
There are 4 proposals and we're gonna take them one by one.
We can only,
We're
do 3 at
the
a
exact,
time.
the only one we won't be taking is mine.
Unless,
If-
unless
if-
someone wants to take, people back.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did it to kind of start the conversation. That's really the intent, which, and you guys are doing great, because this is kind of the premise. So,
This isn't a horse and camel.
yes, no, this is, and I think with the way you laid this out, this really helpful. So, all right, so we have a motion to approve Director Kennett's proposal. Is there a second?
Second.
All right,
Okay.
when you are ready.
I have to catch up.
Okay.
So you can only approve.
We'll vote, we can vote on all 3. So you would then be voting 3 times for the one.
Right, but you should, if you want one, you should vote no on the other.
Correct. Yes, yes, thank you.
Mine is the better one.
Director, you have to wait. Okay, you ready? All right, so we have a motion for proposal number 1, we're gonna call it. Moved by Director Kenneth, second by Director Flocker. Call roll.
Director Kenneth,
Yes.
Director Flaher,
Yes.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Annabelle. No. Director Alexander.
No.
Director Gill.
Definitely no.
Okay, that motion fails. All right, I'm gonna hear another motion.
I move to approve the recommendable.
I think we have to do a kill search.
Yeah, so it's my motion.
Is it?
Motion to approve.
I'm confusing.
Oh, yeah, no, we're doing, yes, so we're looking at, the proposal that, Dr. Gill.
Yeah. Motion to approve.
Yes,
And, sorry, who made the motion?
Director Gill. Okay, do we have a second? I will second it, so we have a vote, all right.
What happens if none of them pass?
We start over.
Are we ready? Director
All right.
Kenneth,
No.
Director Flaher,
No.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Annabelle,
No.
Director Alexander.
No.
Director Gill.
Yes.
Okay, that one fails. Okay. The last one, okay, do I hear another motion?
I move. Director Annabelle's recommendations. I second.
All right, ready? All right, we have a motion and a second. Proposal number 3.
Director Kenneth.
No.
Director Flaher,
No.
Director Chapman. Director Annabelle,
Yes.
Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Gill.
No.
Okay. We start over or we start over with a new, okay, right, because we've gone through.
You can reintroduce your.
I can reintroduce mine. We have the spreadsheet, okay, all right. I'm open to modifications if anybody would like to make a friendly amendment.
Sure.
Okay. See where I'm going here?
Bigger, but, still gonna add a little bit for forestry, still another 25.
There's our city force has money. Mine. Yep. Which numbers would you like to change?
25, as I did before.
Okay, drop it to 25.
Put it to 20, yeah, drop it to 25, and what is that? I'll go with that.
So is that a friendly amendment?
It's.
I will accept that friendly amendment.
It's
Okay,
friendly as they get.
okay, all right. All right, so now we have. I'll move my proposal. We have a motion I will motion to approve my proposal. For a second?
I'll approve somebody friendly.
Okay. All right. Are you ready?
Director Kenneth,
Yes.
Director Flaher,
Yes.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Annabelle.
No.
Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Gill.
No.
Four votes, the motion passes.
Through the chair, if I can just pause for a moment and thank everyone for your applications and all your hard work. I know they're through a lot of work. We really appreciate all your great ideas, everything that went into this.
Thank you.
Hold on, I want to, they're kind
Thank
of.
you, everybody, while you watch the
slide.
Yeah.
City term, but that's,
Thank you.
okay. Now that that item is done, is there any action items need to be done, or we can say the meeting is now adjourned? Now.
Thank you.